There are places in the taiga people don't talk about. Not because they forgot, but because they remember too well. Old hunters will go miles out of their way just to avoid them. Even if it means freezing, even if it means getting lost. Some places are simply not worth crossing. They don't exist on modern maps. You won't find them marked anywhere. But among those who know the forest, each of them has a name. And one of those names is the Crooked Ravine. They say the ground there isn't just uneven. It's twisted. Like something beneath it once moved and never fully settled. There's a stream running along the bottom of the ravine. It never freezes. Not in deep winter. Not in 40 below. Steam rises from it even in the harshest cold. And the smell, it isn't water. It's sweet. Too sweet. With something rotten underneath. My grandfather used to say, "You can walk into the Crooked Ravine as a man, but what walks out? That's up to God." I used to laugh when he said that. My name is Semyon Korobov. And back then, I was young enough and stupid enough not to listen. It happened in late November. There wasn't much snow yet. Just a thin crust of frost over the ground, hard and brittle. Every step cracked under my boots. The cold had already settled in. Dry. Sharp. The kind that cuts into your lungs when you breathe. I was hunting sable. The tracks were fresh. Clean. The animal was fast, clever, doubling back, trying to lose me. And I followed. Further and further, not thinking about distance. Not thinking about time. That's how it always happens. You focus on the trail. And everything else disappears. I didn't notice the light fading. Not at first. In the taiga, it doesn't take long. One moment you can still see the trees and the next, it's already gone. When I finally stopped and looked around, the sun had disappeared completely. And the darkness that followed wasn't normal. It was thick. Heavy. Like it swallowed sound. The forest behind me felt different. Closed. Like something had quietly sealed it off. I reached for my flashlight and turned it on. The beam cut through the dark, pulling shapes out of nothing. Tree trunks. Patches of moss. Broken branches. And that was it. No movement. No wind. No sound. Too quiet. I stood there longer than I should have. Listening. Waiting. For anything. But there was nothing. That's when I checked my compass. And that's when the unease really set in. The needle wasn't steady. It trembled. Jerked slightly to one side. Then slowly tilted. Like it didn't want to point anywhere at all. I turned in place, watching it. Waiting for it to settle. It didn't. Something inside me tightened. Not panic. Not yet. Just a quiet, growing awareness that something wasn't right. I started walking again. No clear direction. Just moving. Trying to find the river. Trying to hear water. Anything that could guide me out. Step after step. The forest stretching endlessly in every direction. The same trees. The same shadows. The same silence. And then suddenly it opened. I stepped out of the trees and into a clearing. And stopped. Because in the middle of that clearing there was a house. The house stood perfectly still in the middle of the clearing, as if it had always been there. Not a shack. Not some abandoned shelter. A real house. Solid. Well built. With carved wooden details along the porch, a proper roof, and clean, even windows. It didn't belong out here. Not in a place like this. For a long moment, I just stood at the edge of the clearing, staring at it, trying to make sense of what I was seeing. There were no tracks leading to it. No signs of anyone passing through. Nothing. And yet there was smoke rising from the chimney. Thin. Steady. Almost too perfect. It drifted upward into the freezing air without breaking apart. And then I noticed the light. Warm. Soft. Alive. It glowed from the windows in a way that felt wrong. Not flickering like firelight. Not harsh like electricity. Just steady. As if someone inside had been sitting there for a very long time. Waiting. I didn't move. Didn't step forward. Didn't call out. Because every instinct I had was telling me the same thing. Something about this wasn't right. Out here, nothing is given freely. Not shelter. Not warmth. Not safety. If you find something that feels like all three at once, it comes with a price. Always. The cold crept deeper under my clothes. Through the seams. Into my bones. My fingers were starting to stiffen. Breath came out sharp and uneven. I glanced back at the forest behind me. And felt it again. That same sensation. Like it wasn't open anymore. Like whatever path I had taken to get here was gone. Swallowed. There was nowhere else to go. I turned back to the house. And took a step forward. Then another. Each step felt heavier than it should have. Like the air itself was thickening. The clearing was silent. No wind. No creaking trees. No distant sounds. Just my boots against the frozen ground. Crunch. Pause. Crunch. The porch rose up in front of me. The wood looked old, but not worn down. Maintained. Cared for. I stepped onto it. And the boards creaked under my weight. Loud. Too loud. The sound seemed to hang in the air longer than it should have. I froze. Listening. Waiting for something inside to react. Nothing. No movement. No voice. Just silence. I raised my hand to knock. And before my knuckles touched the wood, the door opened. Slowly. Without a sound. Just easing inward. Like it had been unlocked the whole time. Like it had been waiting for that exact moment. A wave of warmth rolled out to meet me. Thick. Heavy. It carried the smell of fresh bread. Boiled potatoes. Something herbal. Something bitter beneath it. Something I couldn't quite place. But it was strong. Stronger than it should have been. For a second, I just stood there. On the threshold. Half in the cold. Half in the warmth. And something in me hesitated. A quiet voice in the back of my mind telling me, if you step inside, things will change. But the cold made the decision for me. I stepped over the threshold. And the moment I did, I felt it. A shift. Subtle. But real. Like something behind me had closed. Not the door. Something else. I didn't turn around to check. I just stood there in the entryway, letting my eyes adjust. The heat inside the house was overwhelming. It wrapped around me instantly. Too strong. Too sudden. My skin prickled. My breath hitched. It didn't feel like normal warmth. It felt contained. Like the air had nowhere to go. Like it was being held inside on purpose. I could hear the fire. Close. Loud. Wood cracking and shifting in the stove. There were other sounds too. Soft ones. A faint rustle. Movement. Somewhere deeper in the house. I took a step forward. The floorboards didn't creak this time. That was worse. And then I saw her. Standing near a large stove at the far end of the room. A woman. She turned toward me the exact moment I stepped in. No delay. No surprise. As if she had known. As if she had been waiting. "Our guest," she said. Her voice was calm. Low. Almost soothing. Too controlled. "Night caught you, didn't it? Come in. Don't stand there, you'll let the heat out." I swallowed. My throat felt dry. "I got lost," I said. "I know," she replied. Immediately. Without thinking. Without asking anything else. "I know who you are." That made something cold settle in my chest. "Semyon, right?" I nodded slowly. Yeah, she smiled. Not wide. Not warm. Just enough. "I'm Agafya," she said. "And this is my sister Marfa." I followed her gaze and only then noticed the second woman. She was sitting in the far corner of the room. Still. Almost completely motionless. Watching me. Her face was pale. Too pale. Her hair was light, almost colorless in the warm glow of the room, and her eyes didn't blink. Not once. She gave a slow, almost mechanical nod. Nothing more. Something about the way she moved made my skin tighten. "Take off your coat," Agafya said, already stepping closer. "You'll freeze if you keep that damp cold on you." Her hands were quick. Confident. She took my coat before I even realized I had started unfastening it. "I'll dry it," she added, carrying it toward the stove. I hesitated for a second, then pulled off my boots. The heat inside the house pressed in harder the longer I stood there. It was suffocating. Like the air was too thick to breathe properly. "Sit," she said, nodding toward the table. I did. Mostly because my legs were still shaking from the cold. Or maybe not just from the cold. She placed a bowl in front of me. Steam rose from it in heavy waves. Potatoes. Covered in melted butter. Sprinkled with chopped green onions. Beside it, mushrooms. Dark. Glossy. And a thick slice of bread. Fresh. Still warm. The smell hit me instantly. Strong. Comforting. Overpowering. I didn't think. I just picked up the spoon and started eating. The first bite burned my tongue. I barely noticed. It was good. Too good. The kind of food that makes you forget everything else for a moment. And I needed that moment. I ate faster. Hungrier. Like I hadn't eaten in days. The warmth spread through my body, pushing out the cold. My hand steadied. My breathing slowed. For a few seconds everything felt normal. And then I realized something. They weren't eating. I slowed down. Lowered the spoon slightly. Looked up. Agafia was sitting across from me now. Hands folded neatly in her lap. Watching. Martha hadn't moved from her place. Still sitting. Still staring. Neither of them touched the food. Neither of them even looked at it. They were watching me eat. Only me. The silence in the room thickened. The only sound left was the spoon touching the bowl. And my breathing. Loud. Too loud. Tastes good? Agafia asked softly. I nodded. Yeah, it's really good. She smiled. Of course it is, she said. You need your strength out here. Something in the way she said that didn't sit right. Need your strength. For what? I forced another bite. Chewed. Swallowed. Tried not to look at them. But I could feel their eyes. Constant. Unblinking. Measuring something. Waiting. How long have you lived out here? I asked, just to break the silence. Martha's head tilted slightly. Just a fraction. But enough to notice. Agafia answered instead. A long time. No road out here, I said. Nearest town's what, 3 days out on a snowmobile. We don't need roads, she replied. Simple. Flat. Final. Martha spoke then. For the first time. Her voice was quiet. Dry. Like she hadn't used it in a long time. We were born here. The words came slowly. Carefully. Our mother lived here. Her mother too. I hesitated. Then asked the question anyway. And your father? The moment the word left my mouth, something changed. Agafia's smile disappeared. Not faded. Gone. Like it had never been there. Martha stopped moving completely. The air in the room shifted. Heavier. Colder. Even with the heat from the stove. There is no father, Agafia said. Her voice was different now. Hard. Sharp. Don't ask about him. Silence dropped back into place. Thicker than before. I lowered my eyes to the bowl. Forced myself to take another bite. The taste hadn't changed. Still good. But now it felt wrong. Like I was eating something I shouldn't be eating. Something I didn't understand. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw Martha stand up. Slowly. Without a sound. She moved toward an old dresser in the corner. Opened it. And took something out. A photograph. She walked back. And held it out to me. I hesitated, then took it. The paper was dry. Brittle. Like it would crumble if I pressed too hard. I looked down. 2 girls. Standing side by side. In long dresses. In front of a house. This house. The same porch. The same carved wood. Everything identical. Except the house looked newer. Brighter. Less worn. The girls looked young. No older than 18. One dark-haired. Strong posture. a slight defiance in her expression. The other, light-haired, thin, her eyes wide, uncertain, but stubborn. I felt something twist inside my chest. Slowly, I looked up. At Marfa. At Agafia. Back at the photograph. Then at them again. The same faces. The same eyes. No difference. None. That I started, but the words didn't come out. Marfa leaned closer. So close I felt her breath near my ear. We were 18, she whispered. I hadn't heard her move. Not a single step. Year 1903. My fingers tightened around the photograph. My pulse started to rise. I looked at Agafia. She was watching me again. That same calm expression. Like she had been waiting for this moment. Time doesn't move the same here, she said quietly. I stared at her, trying to understand what she meant. Time doesn't move the same. The words didn't make sense. Or maybe they did and I just didn't want them to. I looked back down at the photograph. At the two girls. Then slowly lifted my eyes again. They hadn't changed. Not at all. No wrinkles. No age. Nothing. Just the same faces staring back at me from across the table. Something cold settled deep in my chest. A quiet, creeping realization I couldn't fully grasp yet. Eat, Agafia said softly. I looked at the bowl. The steam was still rising. The food was still hot. As if no time had passed at all. I lifted the spoon. Forced myself to take another bite. Chewed. Swallowed. But the taste was different now. It hadn't changed. I had. The warmth that had filled me before now felt heavy. Thick. Like it was weighing me down from the inside. You should sleep, Agafia said. Night is long out here. Her voice was calm again. Gentle. Like nothing strange had happened. Like everything was normal. I nodded. Mostly because I didn't trust my voice. She stood and motioned for me to follow. I did. The house felt different as we moved through it. Narrower. Quieter. The walls seemed closer than before. Like the space itself had shifted. She led me into a small side room. A simple bed. Clean sheets. A heavy blanket. Rest, she said. You'll feel better in the morning. Morning. The word felt distant. Uncertain. She pulled the blanket over me with slow, careful movements. Her fingers brushed my hand. Cold. Ice cold. Not like someone who had been standing near a fire. Like something that had never been warm at all. Sleep, she whispered. Then she stepped out. And closed the door. The room fell into darkness. Complete. Heavy. I lay there for a while. Listening. To the silence. It wasn't empty. It pressed against my ears. Like something just beyond hearing. I don't remember falling asleep. It happened suddenly. Like dropping into deep water. No dreams. No thoughts. Just darkness. And then I woke up. My eyes snapped open. My breath caught in my throat. Something was wrong. The air had changed. It was cold. Not just a little. Deep. Cutting. Like the warmth had been ripped out of the room. I didn't move at first. Just listened. That's when I heard it. Voices. From the other room. Soft. Whispering. But not in any language I knew. It wasn't Russian. Wasn't anything human. The sounds flowed together. Wet. Uneven. Like water running over stones. Like something trying to speak through a mouth that wasn't meant for words. I slowly pushed myself up on my elbows. Listening harder. Trying to catch a single familiar sound. There was none. The whispers rose slightly. Then fell again. Like breathing. Like the house itself was speaking. A cold pressure built behind my ears. Then suddenly, silence. Total. Instant. Like something had cut the sound off. I froze. Didn't even breathe. And then I heard it. A step. Slow. Dragging. Across the floor. From the other room. Toward me. Another step. Closer. The wood creaked this time. Low. Heavy. Like something with weight. Too much weight. My heart started pounding. Hard. Loud. So loud I was sure it could hear it. The steps came closer. Closer. Until they stopped. Right outside the door. I stared at it. Into the darkness. Waiting. There was a sound on the other side. Breathing. Rough. Uneven. Wet. Like air being dragged through something broken. I felt my back press harder against the wall. My fingers digging into the blanket. The door handle moved. Slowly. With a faint metallic creak. I didn't move. Couldn't. I knew I had locked it. I remembered doing it. Clearly. But the latch shifted. There was a dull, heavy sound. The wooden bar slid free. Fell. Hit the floor. The door opened. Just a little. A narrow gap. Darkness filled it. Not empty darkness. Something thicker. Denser. Alive. Cold poured into the room. Sharp. Violent. Stealing the air from my lungs. I tried to speak. Couldn't. My throat locked. Then, a voice came from the other side. Low. Deep. Not human. Semyon. The way it said my name, it felt wrong. Like the sound didn't belong to a human voice. Like it had been dragged up from somewhere deep and forced into shape. My chest tightened. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. From the darkness beyond the door something shifted. A shape. Tall. Too tall. It leaned forward slightly, and for a brief second, a thin strip of pale light from the small window caught it. A hand. Long. Unnaturally long. The skin stretched tight over bone. Dry. Cracked. The fingers ended in dark, hooked nails that scraped softly against the wood of the doorframe. A slow, dragging sound. I felt something inside me drop. Not fear. Something deeper. Something final. Then it stepped closer. And I saw it. Or at least part of it. A face. If it could still be called that. Sunken. Collapsed inward. Skin clinging to the skull. Its mouth hung slightly open, revealing uneven, yellowed teeth. And its eyes, they glowed faintly. Dull. Sick. Like something rotting from the inside. It stared at me. Unblinking. You came, the words rolled out slowly. Heavy. Each one scraping against the air. It took another step into the room. I felt the cold intensify. Like it was feeding on the warmth around me. You stayed. My mind screamed at me to move. To do something. Anything. But my body wouldn't respond. I was locked in place. Frozen. Watching it come closer. Then, a sudden sound broke through the silence. A sharp crack. Like something snapping. The door behind it flew open. Hard. Fast. Slamming against the wall. And she was there. Agafia. But not the same as before. Her face was different. Twisted. The calm softness gone. Her eyes burned in the darkness. Bright. Fierce. No. She shouted. Her voice cut through the air like a blade. He's mine. The thing stopped. Just for a second. Its head tilted slightly. As if listening. As if deciding. Agafia stepped forward. Raised her hand. And snapped her fingers. The sound echoed sharply through the house. A wave of heat followed. Instant. Violent. Like an explosion of fire. The air shifted. The cold broke. The creature let out a sound, not quite a scream. Something lower. Angrier. It recoiled. Its body jerking backward. Its fingers scraping harder against the wood as it pulled away. Liar, it rasped. But there was hesitation now. Something uncertain in its voice. He chose, Agafia said. Cold. Firm. He belongs here. For a moment, nothing moved. The thing stared at her. Then slowly it stepped back. Into the darkness. Its shape dissolved into the black beyond the doorway. The cold lingered for a second longer, then faded. The door slammed shut. Hard. The wooden bar lifted from the floor and slid back into place on its own. Silence. Thick. Heavy. I was still sitting there. Frozen. My heart pounding so hard it hurt. My hands trembling. My breath shallow and uneven. The door creaked open again. Slowly this time. Agafia stood there. And just like that, her face was calm again. Soft. Almost gentle. As if nothing had happened. I'm sorry, she said quietly. And stepped inside. He comes sometimes. She moved closer. Sat down on the edge of the bed. He doesn't like guests. I stared at her. My voice barely worked. What was that? She looked at me for a long moment. Then sighed. And for the first time, there was something tired in her expression. Something old. Not what, she said. Who? A pause. Then, our father. The word hit harder than anything else. I swallowed. My throat dry again. That thing? He wasn't always like that, she said. Her gaze shifted slightly, as if looking at something far away. He tried to leave. The room felt colder again. Not from him. From her words. He thought he could walk away from this place. From us. She shook her head slowly. The forest doesn't forgive that. I felt something twist inside me. A slow, sinking realization. And now? I asked. She looked back at me. Her eyes steady. He's hungry. Silence fell again. I didn't ask what that meant. I already knew. The word hung in the air. Hungry. She said it so simply. Like it didn't need explaining. But I understood. Not fully. Not clearly. But enough. Enough to feel something cold spread through me again. I looked at her. At the calm in her face. At the way she sat there, like nothing was wrong. Like this was normal. What are you? I asked. The question came out hoarse. Barely a voice. She didn't answer right away. Just watched me. Long. Carefully. Then she stood up. Walked to the small window. Moonlight slipped across her face. Pale. Still. We are the ravine, she said quietly. And the ravine is us. I didn't understand. Or maybe I didn't want to. We've always been here, she continued. Before the roads. Before the hunters. Before anything that thought it could claim this land. Her voice was steady. Almost distant. As long as something comes, something stays. The word settled into me. Slow. Heavy. And me? I asked. She turned her head slightly. Just enough to look at me over her shoulder. You've already seen too much. There was no threat in her voice. That made it worse. It wasn't a warning. It was a fact. A conclusion. I want to leave, I said. Stronger this time. Forcing the words out. Right now. She turned fully. Looked at me. And for a moment, something changed. Not anger. Not quite. Something sharper. You can try, she said. A faint smile touched her lips. But there was no warmth in it. Run. She stepped aside. Clearing the doorway. As if inviting me. As if this was a game. I didn't wait. Didn't think. I moved. Fast. Out of the room. Through the hallway. Into the main room. My coat, I grabbed it from where it hung near the stove. Didn't stop to put it on. Didn't look at them. Didn't want to see their faces. The front door, I reached it in seconds. Grabbed the handle. Pulled. The door flew open. And I stopped. Because there was no porch. No clearing. No forest. Just a wall. A wooden wall. Right in front of me. Close. Too close. Like the door opened into another room. I blinked. Stepped back. My breath quickened. No. No, that wasn't possible. I slammed the door shut. Pulled it open again. The same thing. The wall. Unmoving. Solid. I turned, ran to the window, wiped the frost with my sleeve, looked outside. Another room. The same table. The same stove. And Martha sitting there. Calm. Silent. Cutting mushrooms. She looked up, met my eyes, and gave a small, slow nod. I stumbled back, my pulse hammering. I turned to the other window. This time, trees. But something was wrong. They stood too straight, too even. And the leaves, green, bright, alive. In November. Nothing moved. Nothing swayed. It didn't feel real. It felt like a picture. A bad one. The house shifted. Not physically. Something deeper. Like space inside it was bending. Changing. Watching. The door behind me slammed open. Hard. I spun around. Agafia stood there. That same smile. Run, she said again. But now there was excitement in her voice. Like she was enjoying this. I backed away. My hand hit something. Metal. I grabbed it without thinking. An old iron poker. Heavy. Cold. Not much of a weapon. But it was something. Don't come closer, I said. My voice shook. I couldn't stop it. Martha appeared in the doorway behind her. Quiet. Almost gliding. Where would you go? She asked softly. Her voice was different now. Clearer. But still wrong. There's nowhere outside, she continued. The house is the ravine. And the ravine is the house. Her eyes locked onto mine. You're already inside. A low sound rolled through the house. Deep. Vibrating through the floor. Through the walls. Through my bones. I knew that sound. Him. He was coming back. Martha's expression flickered. Just slightly. He's coming, she said. He can smell you now. I tightened my grip on the poker. My mind racing. Looking for anything. Any way out. Up, she said suddenly. Go up. I froze. There is no upstairs, I said. She tilted her head. And pointed. I followed her hand. And saw it. A narrow ladder. In the corner. Leading to a hatch in the ceiling. I hadn't seen it before. I didn't question it. Didn't think. I ran. Climbed. Fast. My hand slipping on the wood. The hatch pushed open above me. I pulled myself through. And rolled onto the floor. The attic. Dark. Dusty. The air dry and stale. Thin beams of moonlight cut through cracks in the roof. Shadows stretched across the floor like bars. There was nowhere to go. No exit. No window big enough. Nothing. I turned back toward the hatch. Just as it burst open. And he appeared. The moment I saw him, I knew there was nowhere left to go. He pulled himself up slowly. One arm at a time. The wood creaked under his weight. His fingers dug into the edge of the opening, leaving dark scratches behind. Then his head rose into the dim light. That face, if it could still be called a face, was worse than before. Closer. Clearer. The skin stretched thin across bone. The mouth hanging open, too wide, as if it had forgotten how to close. And those eyes, fixed on me. Empty. Hungry. I can smell you, the words came out broken. Wet. Like they were dragged through something rotten. I stumbled back. My heel hit the slanted roof behind me. Nowhere left. No more space. He kept climbing. Slow. Unstoppable. Each movement deliberate. Certain. Like he already knew how this would end. I raised the poker. My hand shaking. Pointless. I knew it was pointless. But I couldn't just stand there. Stay back. I shouted. My voice cracked. He didn't react. Didn't even slow down. Just kept coming. I've been waiting another step. Closer. I've been so hungry, the words stretched, warped, barely holding together. I swung. Desperately. The metal struck his shoulder. A dull sound. No reaction. Nothing. Not pain. Not anger. Just nothing. He kept moving. Like I hadn't touched him at all. My grip loosened. The poker slipped from my hands. Clattered to the floor. I backed away again. But there was nowhere left to go. The wall pressed against my back. Cold. Solid. Final. This was it. I knew it. No escape. No fight. Nothing. And then, a voice. From below. Sharp. Commanding. Father. Agafia. Her voice cut through the attic. Strong. Certain. He is not yours. The thing froze. For the first time, it stopped. Its head turned slowly. Toward the opening behind it. Mine, it rasped. No, she said. Firm. He chose. Silence. Heavy. Tense. Then Martha's voice joined in. Quiet. But clear. He belongs to us now. The creature trembled. A low growl built in its chest. The beams above us creaked. Dust fell from the ceiling. For a moment, I thought it would lunge. That it would ignore them. Ignore everything. And take me anyway. But it didn't. Slowly it leaned back. Its fingers releasing the edge. Its body sinking down into the darkness below. Lie, as it whispered. Then it was gone. The hatch slammed shut. Hard. The sound echoed through the attic. Then, silence. I stood there. Breathing hard. My legs barely holding me up. My mind trying to catch up with what had just happened. After a few seconds, the hatch opened again. Slowly. And Agafia appeared. Calm. Like before. Like nothing had happened. Come down, she said. You're safe. Safe. The word felt wrong. But I moved anyway. I climbed down. Step by step. Back into the house. Everything looked the same. The stove. The table. The warmth. Marfa sat by the window again, quietly working with a needle and thread. Like nothing had changed. Like nothing ever did. Agafia placed the bowl in front of me. The same one. Still warm. Still steaming. Eat, she said softly. You understand now. I looked at the food. At the rising steam. Then at them. At their faces. Calm. Patient. Waiting. And suddenly, everything became clear. There was no door. No outside. No escape. This place didn't let people leave. It changed them. Kept them. Turned them into something else. Something like them. Something like him. And there was only one way to survive. Not to fight. Not to run. To stay. To accept it. To become part of it. Slowly, I reached for the spoon. My hand didn't shake anymore. I took a bite. The warmth spread through me again. But this time, it felt different. Deeper. Heavier. Like it was settling inside me. Changing something. I looked up at them. And for the first time, I understood their smiles. Not kindness. Not cruelty. Recognition. Good, Agafia said quietly. Now you belong. I didn't answer. Didn't need to. Because somewhere deep inside, I already knew. There's no leaving the Crooked Ravine. Not once it sees you. Not once it knows your name. You don't walk out. You don't escape. You stay. And sooner or later, you become part of it. Just like everything else that ever wandered too far and didn't find its way back.